This is a Pel Job LS2000 mini excavator and it's broken. The main thing that's broken is the oil pump, so we have to fix that. So let's get started. So the mini excavator came with the pump already in the cab, as the previous owner took it loose and he didn't know how to go further with it. So that's where I bought this project. My job is to get this pump fixed, and that will make the mini excavator going. And from there on, we should be able to go further with the machine. So let's see if we can take this apart and if we can find out what is wrong with the pump. This one is actually broken. The small one still works fine, but the big one is the problem. So what we're gonna do is take it apart and see if we can find anything. So far I got the pump open, but now the problem is that I can't get the squash plate out, and that's because there's a bearing behind the shaft, and the shaft is actually blocking me from taking the squash plate out, as there's also a part sitting here that's actually screwed into the squash plate. So I'm gonna have to free the bearing of the shaft so the shaft can come out, and that way the squash plate should be able to come out. So let's try to free up the bearing. Well, that did the trick perfect. I used this tube to go over the shaft. That way I was able to hammer the shaft from the bearing. And now I can take it out. So that's perfect. So it has to go this way into there. That's the correct direction. Now I can take out the squash plate. There we go. And there is the bearing, which was blocking us. So that's basically the whole pump. Basic concept of the pump, how this one works, is this plate goes against that part, and we can modify the angle like this, because we have these bearings sitting here, and that's allowing us to adjust the angle. And by adjusting the angle while this shaft rotates, will cause this to rotate as well. And if you rotate this, these plungers are going against the squash plate, so they will come in and out and in and out, and by that we have a displacement, and that displacement is our oil pressure and our oil flow. And it also means that we can have no oil flow while the engine runs, and that's really good for the hydraulic oil, as it doesn't get that hot this way, because pumping oil around without any purpose just heats up the oil. So now the biggest problem is, as you can see, these plates, they are completely worn out, as they should be shiny and also perfectly round with a flat top, but they are beaten up, and not a little bit, but really bad. That's just worn out, so it means we need these new. And the other thing is the squash plate has grooves in here, and that causes that these plungers don't come back properly, as they have to suck onto the squash plate, and that can't happen now. So this needs to be flattened, and we need these new. I decided to send the pump to a company to have a revision on the pump, because there was a lot of parts worn out in the pump, and the pump required basically everything new except for the housing, as not all parts were possible to be delivered. but that means that we get a practically new pump with the old housing. So let's just wait for that and do some other stuff in the meantime, as there's more stuff we can do with the mini excavator before we install the pump. I'm really curious if the mini excavator runs, so we're gonna put a battery in there and try to get it started, because I want to see that the engine runs before we restore the pump. Let's go and try to start it. Well, mini excavator is very dirty, so we're first gonna clean it off. That way we can work on a clean machine. That sounds way better. So let's do that. Well, the outside is clean now. It still looks rusty and worn, but it's already way better than it was like, because now at least the windows are clean on one side. But the paint here still looks decent. The paint of the cap, that's just the worst thing, as that's rusted through on a lot of places. So we definitely have a lot of weld work on the cap, but that's no problem. You can just spend a little bit of time on it and make it like new, or even better. The advantage of welding and stuff is that you can also make it like you want it. So we can easily modify the shape of the cap if I need to. I also need a new window here, as this is no window, this is just a wooden plate. And of course you want to see there, because if you're digging, that's exactly where you're looking. But that has to wait. First we need a pump, and if the pump works, we get it off. And we do all the other stuff, but we need to have it working in the first place. So in the cab we have a very worn chair, and I'm gonna take that out. I also want to take a look beneath the chair, as that's the place where I guess where all the hydraulic valves are, as there basically is no other spot in the mini excavator that I haven't seen yet, so they must be there. So we're gonna take the chair out and we're gonna take a look at all the valves, and the chair is not coming back in, so we have a new chair for that, or at least a used new one. Well, the inside of the cab is also really dirty, so we're gonna clean that out with the pressure cleaner as well. This is an old mini excavator, so it should be able to handle the pressure cleaner inside. I already took the chair out, so that one is out, and there's no more stuff in there that can rot. And I think it's just the best way to clean it out with the pressure cleaner. That way we know for sure that stuff gets clean. I'd rather have it clean than dirty, and I just want a clean cab. Well, I cleaned off the mini excavator. It's nice and clean now, and we can start working on it. So as you can see, I already rotated it, and I did it with the forklift because it can't rotate itself at this moment, but with the forklift we can move it around and that works. So one of the first things I want to check is the suction and pressure filter for the hydraulics. As the pump is broken, we know for sure that there is metal parts all over in the fluid system, so we have to filter them all out in the upcoming time when we use the excavator and make sure that all the sensitive parts are free of metal parts. I'm sure there's also metal parts in the cylinder, but I think that will come out itself, and if it does not, then we have to replace the seals on the broken cylinders. So once we got a pump back in there again, we will see how it runs, and everything should run fine. But we have to make sure that the new pump is gonna be in good shape and that it doesn't get metal parts all over at the first day, because that would be a shame. That's the point where the oil is being sucked out of the hydraulic tank. You can see it's not completely on the bottom, but always gets clean oil. So at this moment I'm cleaning out the hydraulic tank, as there's a lot of metal parts in there and we don't want metal parts in the new pump. Cleaning it out while it's in is easier than taking it out, because to take it out I have to get the cap off. But I can't get the cap off because I'm inside the trailer and I can't get it up. So to get it out I need a running pump, but I can't run the pump if the hydraulic tank is dirty. So I'm cleaning it out this way. I got this pump to actually pull everything out of the tank, so it sucks it out slowly, and meanwhile I can clean out the tank. So that seems to work perfect. So let's continue doing that. I'm gonna take the floor out of the cap, as I think that's the place where all the valves are, and we need access to the valves, so we're gonna take out the floor. Under the floor here we can see all the hydraulic valves of the mini excavator, so this all looks to be in good shape. But we need to be able to have access to it, and the floor is also rotten a bit, so we're gonna have to make new floor or we're gonna have to restore this floor. I still have to decide on what to do with that, but I think it's gonna be a new floor. This one is it's not good. So let's see what else we can get out to make better. A neighbor came by and he needed the trailer, and I said, "You want a mini excavator with it?" And he didn't like that idea, so he came with his telehandler and we were able to unload it. So that's a bonus for me, because I now got the machine unloaded, as I had no clue how to do it yet. It had to run before it could unload itself, but now it's unloaded, so that's perfect. So now I got it sitting in front of the workshop and we can continue working on it, and that's great. We got a package. So this has to be the pump that's returned. So let's open it and see if we got a repaired pump. So I got one issue with mounting the pump, and that is that I only have one of these parts and I need two. So what I want to do is fabricate the other one on the lathe together with the drill press. And I already drilled a hole, so we start out with the hole, and I need to mount the plate with the hole in it into the lathe That way we can cut out this here, and then we should be able to copy this part some kind of way, at least that it works technically, but it won't look the same.
Highly sedated, intoxicated, we're automated and overpopulated. We're all fish in a stream, swimming towards a vicious dream. Don't you know we're the walking dead, dead, dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they got into our heads, heads, heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking, fear and hatred, dull and jaded. It's all been debated and manipulated. Nothing's ever.
So that looks to be a nice part. So now I also got this edge here, and with that edge I can actually mount the hose that I need to mount. So this should work out perfectly. This is a little bit bigger as the original one, but it also means it's strong enough and we have the space for a bigger one, so we will use it this way. So let's mount it.
Nothing's ever as it seems. Bound to believe everything they scream. Don't you know we're the walking dead, dead, dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they
Well, it's time to start the mini excavator. So now let's see what it does. So one of the first things to do is tension this track properly, as it's not tensioned properly at this moment. And I need to lift it up to tension it, so now we can tension it.
got into our heads, heads, heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking dead. We're the walking dead, dead.
Okay, that looks perfect. We got an oil leak there, and seems to be that's coming from cylinders that actually from this one. This one is sinking.